Welcome to the DeCypher Podcast. I'm your host Aurko, the editor of the DeCypher Journal, and today I'm grateful to be joined by Ms. Shivani Singh, who is the Program Coordinator of the Law and Critical Emerging Technology Center at the Advanced Study Institute of Asia. Well, thank you for joining me today in the studio, Ms. Shivani Singh.
Thank you, Aurko. Thank you for having me here today.
Well, let's get right into it. In your most recent article in the journal titled Innovating for the Future, Insights from the Global Innovation Index 2024, you look at the whole global innovation ecosystem. So, just for our listeners who may be unacquainted with the domain of IP, innovation, and technology, could you please help give a brief overview of what is the Global Innovation Index and how do nations and organizations understand their position within the Global Innovation Index?
Sure, Aurko. The Global Innovation Index is a crucial tool for understanding a country's position in the global innovation ecosystem. Published annually by the World Intellectual Property Organization, the report evaluates 133 economies across more than 80 indicators, looking at both innovation inputs like the infrastructure, human capital, and institutions, and the innovation outputs such as creative goods and knowledge diffusion. It covers areas like science investment, technological progress, technology adoption, and socio-economic impact, giving a comprehensive view of global innovation trends. The Global Innovation Index, introduced in 2007, has evolved to reflect the changing nature of global innovation. Initially focused on traditional measures like research and development spending and patents, the GII expanded its scope over time to include factors like infrastructure, market sophistication, and human capital, acknowledging that innovation goes beyond research labs. By 2012, the GII began emphasizing inclusivity, highlighting the regional disparities and the role of grassroots innovation in emerging economies. It also introduced thematic reports starting in 2016, addressing key issues like agriculture, health, and digital transformation, aligning the GII with urgent global challenges. What makes the GII especially valuable is how it helps countries assess their innovation policies and pinpoint areas for improvement. For example, high-income countries like Switzerland excel in knowledge and technology outputs, while middle-income nations such as Vietnam and Indonesia are gaining ground by focusing on creative exports and industrial designs. At the same time, the GII highlights areas where there is still significant inequality, like the 5% drop in global scientific publication or the stark digital divide with sub-Saharan Africa having just 6% 5G coverage. These insights guide government and organizations to identify gaps and develop strategies that align with broader sustainable development goals. The reason I decided to write about the 2024 Global Innovation Index is because of its focus on social entrepreneurship, which I found particularly inspiring. In a time when corporate R&D growth is slowing and venture capital investments are decreasing, the GII highlights the growing impact of social enterprises, organizations that combine profit with social impact. These enterprises are making strides in addressing big global challenges like healthcare, education, and sustainability, particularly in emerging economies. It shows that innovation isn't just happening in tech hubs, but in communities that are solving real world problems. What really caught my attention was the prominence of social entrepreneurship in the 2024 report. These enterprises now generate over $2 trillion in GDP, and companies like Ecofem, which empowers women through sustainable menstrual products and education, and Bandhu, an AI platform helping migrant workers find affordable houses, show how grassroots innovation is creating real change. This year's GII report underscores a key message. True innovation isn't just about technological breakthroughs, it's about addressing societal needs, bridging inequalities, and creating lasting social impact.
Thank you for giving us that overview of the system. But what I take from what you just said is that this system has been started in 2007, right? So when we look at certain countries which have maintained a top position, for example, Switzerland, what factors contribute to Switzerland maintaining these leadership positions in innovation?
Very true, Aurko, because Switzerland has maintained the top spot for not just 4 or 5 years, but for the last 14 years. And it has an exceptional innovation ecosystem. The country invests significantly in research and development, dedicating 3.2% of its GDP to R&D, which is well above the global average of 2.2%. Leading institutions like the ETH Zurich and the University of Lausanne are at the heart of this success, producing cutting edge research in fields such as artificial intelligence and sustainable technologies. Switzerland excels in knowledge outputs, ranking first globally in high value patent families and generating $17.5 billion in intellectual property receipts just in 2023, which clearly indicates of how well it converts research into economic values, which is a major challenge in most of the countries. Moreover, the country's universities, industries, and government work hand in hand to push boundaries in biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. Partnership between institutes like ETH Zurich, EPFL, and major companies such as Roche and Novartis have led to major breakthroughs. Switzerland also stands out in creative industries, regularly ranking high in creative output thanks to its cultural products and global brands. Iconic companies like Rolex and Nestle showcase how Switzerland blends creativity with innovation, strengthening its global reputation. Again, sustainability is also a central focus, with Switzerland leading in the adoption of green technologies and low carbon energy solutions. This commitment to sustainability, coupled with effective governance, robust IP protection, and pro innovation policy, ensures that Switzerland remains a top destination for global talent and investment. I hope this answers your questions, Aurko.
Yeah, great. But like Switzerland, Singapore is another country like Switzerland which ranks very highly in this index. But unlike Switzerland, it lags in certain areas, for example, creative outputs. How do you think this gap can be addressed to further boost its innovation ecosystem?
Well, to address this, I think targeted investment in cultural industries like arts, design, and film production are crucial. The country can focus on policies that incentivize local creation sectors and promote cultural exports that can help Singapore emulate the success of countries like the Republic of South Korea, which excels in creative goods exports according to Global Innovation Index 2024. Social enterprises like Ecofame also show how creative innovation can align with societal goods, merging education, sustainability, and economic impact. Moreover, Singapore can leverage open innovation models to enhance cross sector creativity and boost its global branding, encouraging collaborations between traditional R&D sectors and creating industries while embracing open source solutions could stimulate innovation. Singapore could also draw inspirations from Europe's open innovation hubs, where technology designs and cultural initiatives come together to draw unique creative outputs.
Well, thank you for that answer. And well, progress of Singapore shows what is possible. What do you think emerging economies like Vietnam or Indonesia, which have also shown significant strides over the last decade or so, what lessons do you think these nations can learn from Singapore?
Well, Orko, it's difficult to say what lessons they can take from Singapore, but definitely I can tell you what innovation strategies they can adapt or they can learn from coming from other nations. Well, Vietnam focused on high tech exports and creative industries, which has driven its rapid growth. In 2023 alone, 38% of its total exports were high tech products, up from 24% in 2019, reflecting its technological advancements. The government support for small and medium sized enterprises, especially in industrial designs and textiles, has positioned Vietnam as a key player in global supply chain. With a 20% rise in venture capital inflows in 2023, the country has also seen a boost in tech startups focused on sustainable innovation. Well, similarly, Indonesia has emphasized creative industry and digital infrastructure in its innovation strategies. In 2023, creative goods exports grew by 30% and the country invested heavily in digital infrastructure, with a 15% annual increase fueling a growing tech ecosystem. Both these countries also highlight the role of social entrepreneurship in driving inclusive innovation. Vietnam's Grains of Life and Indonesia's Gojek show how hybrid business models that balance profit and social impact can address local challenges while driving economic growth. These examples demonstrate the importance of fostering SMEs, supporting open innovation, and encouraging social enterprises to tackle critical issues both locally and globally.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned social enterprises because you did it earlier in this podcast and in your article as well. You specifically refer to EcoFem and Bandhu. What do you think makes social entrepreneurship a critical driver for innovation, particularly in Asia?
See, if you look around, the social entrepreneurship is playing a crucial role in driving innovations across Asia, as it offers scalable solution to other systematic challenges. As you have mentioned that I talked about Ecofem and Bandhu in my earlier discussion. So I would like to shed some more light on these initiatives. The Ecofem is a social enterprise in India that produces reusable menstrual pads while also running educational outreach program to promote menstrual health. By reaching nearly 90,000 girls, Ecofem not only improves health outcome but also contributes to waste reduction, demonstrating how product innovation can have far-reaching social impact. Similarly, Bandhu leverages AI-powered platforms to connect migrant workers with affordable housing in rapidly urbanizing Asian cities, bridging gaps in underserved markets and making housing more accessible to millions. Beyond technological innovations, social enterprises are also creating economic opportunities by generating jobs, developing skills, and enhancing community resilience. In areas where the traditional system failed to reach marginalized population, these enterprises provide essential services such as vocational training, financial literacy programs, and healthcare. For instance, Selco in India offers solar power solution and financial inclusion services to empower local entrepreneurs and help off-grid communities access affordable energy. In the Philippines, Gawad Kalinga is combating poverty by building communities around social enterprises, promoting sustainable agriculture, and creating livelihood. These initiatives are transforming Asia's economies by addressing critical issues like income inequality and environmental sustainability while fostering positive social changes. I hope that answers.
Well, I find it interesting that you talk about the impact of these social enterprises, especially in marginalized communities and other communities which may not always receive traditional funding. How do you think policymakers can better support social enterprises to overcome challenges like funding and scalability?
Well, policymakers can actually play a very important role in supporting social enterprises by addressing key challenges, which you mentioned, the two of them, funding and scalability. One effective strategy could be to create dedicated legal frameworks that define and promote social enterprises, making them more attractive to investors. For instance, the UK's Social Value Act encourages public procurement that values social impact alongside cost, providing a clear legal structure for social enterprises. Governments can also offer concessional financing and introduce mechanisms such as social impact bonds, which have proven successful in funding initiatives like the Peterborough Prison Social Impact Bond in the UK, aimed at reducing reoffending rates. Tax initiatives such as India's Stand Up India scheme can help elevate financial pressures and encourage innovation within these enterprises. Public private partnership like Uganda's green bioenergy projects are another way to help scale impact driven ventures by combining government support with private sector investments. Government can further support social enterprises by implementing social procurement policies such as those in the EU, which ensure a stable demand for products and services from these enterprises. Investing in impact measurement tools, supported by frameworks like those with the Global Impact Investment Network, will also help social enterprises track and demonstrate their effectiveness. Additionally, including social enterprises in national innovation indices, as seen in South Korea and Finland, can increase their visibility and attract more investments, enabling them to scale their social impact and drive lasting change.
Well, investment, when we speak about investment or a lack of it, we can see that green technology and renewable energy have seen slower progress in recent years. What do you think can be done to counter this and help achieve these global innovation goals?
Well, Orko, the slower progress in green technology and renewable energy is indeed a serious concern for achieving global sustainability goals, particularly in the UN Sustainability Development Goals, the SDGs, on climate action. If innovation in green technologies stall, it will be harder to reduce carbon emission and transition to a low carbon economy. To prevent this, governments must prioritize investing in research and development for renewable energy technologies. Germany's Energy Wende initiative, for example, has been a trailblazer in investing in renewable energy infrastructure and technologies to support the clean energy transition. Global collaborations like the Paris Agreement also play a crucial role by fostering collective action, setting ambitious climate targets, and encourage partnership to drive green innovation forward. Government must go beyond R&D investment and also incentivize private sector innovation by providing robust policy support for green startups and low carbon technologies. For example, China's intensive investment in solar energy has positioned it as a global leader in solar panel production, proving the power of public sector support in driving green technologies. Public private financing models, such as the Green Climate Fund, are also critical, particularly for supporting renewable energy projects in developing countries. Furthermore, supporting social enterprises like Green Bioenergy in Uganda, which focuses on clean energy solutions for local communities, can help scale innovative, eco-friendly solutions with a real world impact.
Well, when we look at Uganda and we look at the broader sub Saharan African region, we see there is a large digital divide. And I think, well, you've mentioned earlier on in this podcast, it was around there's less than 6% of 5G
Yes,
coverage
6%.
across the whole continent.
Yes.
So, what do you think governments in Africa and globally organizations can do to help bridge this gap together?
Well, to address this, the government must prioritize investments in ICT infrastructure, particularly focusing on expanding affordable broadband access, especially in rural areas. Kenya, for instance, has partnered with telecom companies to extend 4G networks, significantly improving internet access for millions of people. Government should also integrate ICT into education systems, following Rwanda's Vision 2020 program, which incorporates digital tools in schools to better prepare students for the digital economy. Additionally, promoting affordable digital education, as seen with Nigeria's digital literacy program, can help equip underserved population with essential skills. Supporting microfinance programs for tech-driven enterprises like the Africa Development Bank's Technopreneurship program, while further empower local innovators and entrepreneurship. International organizations can play a crucial role in supporting these efforts by facilitating cross border digital partnerships and providing funding for innovation hubs in underserved regions. The World Bank's Digital Economy for Africa initiatives is a great example of global collaboration amid at expanding connectivity and digital services.
The Global Innovation Index was started in 2007, and while it continues to evolve and it becomes more in depth, it incorporates more and more factors. How do you see it remaining relevant and inclusive for measuring innovation in the future?
Well, that's an interesting question, Aurko. In the next decade, I think the Global Innovation Index is expected to keep on evolving and introducing more comprehensive and nuanced metrics that reflect the changing landscape of innovation. One major shift may be that it might have a deeper focus on systems innovation, which considers how interconnected innovations across various industries create broader societal and economic impact. This will include a closer look at the informal sector's contributions, which are particularly significant in countries like India and Kenya, where grassroots innovation in mobile technology and local manufacturing often fuel economic growth. Additionally, the GII is likely to place more emphasis on social entrepreneurship and open source initiatives, such as platforms like GitHub, to ensure that global innovation is measured in a more inclusive manner. The GII the GII will also likely adopt AI-driven big data analytics to enhance its ability to predict trends and provide real-time insights into innovation dynamics. Sustainability focused innovation will be another key area of growth, with the GII incorporating metrics for low carbon technologies and circular economy models, following the example set by countries like Sweden. We may also see the emergence of subnational innovation indices offering localized measurements to assess regional innovation ecosystem more effectively, as seen in China's provincial innovation strategies. I think by embracing these developments, the GII will provide a more inclusive dynamic picture of global innovation.
And while we look at the GI as a whole, what sectors or regions do you see as potential game changers for global innovation, let's say in the next 5 years, by 2030?
Well, by 2030, regions like Southeast Asia, Sub Saharan Africa, and Central and Southern Asia are poised to become transformative forces in global innovation, particularly driven by rapid technological advancements and shifting global dynamics. Let's say in Southeast Asia, countries such as Vietnam and Indonesia are making significant strides in digital economies, particularly in sectors like fintech and e commerce. These industries have the potential to revolutionize business models across the region, creating new opportunities for growth and development. Meanwhile, in sub Saharan Africa, mobile technologies and services like the M Pesa in Kenya are opening doors to financial inclusion and social entrepreneurship, positioning the region as a leader in developing innovative solutions to pressing social and economic challenges. I think the key sectors would be the AI, green technology, and digital health. These sectors will play a critical role in driving these transformations. AI applications ranging from automation and data analysis to predictive healthcare are already shaping industries globally. China's investments in AI driven smart cities and manufacturing are leading the way in rethinking urban living and industrial processes. The clean energy sector, particularly solar and wind technologies, is another area set for significant growth, with countries like India and Morocco investing heavily in renewable energy infrastructures.
Well, you mentioned China a few times in this podcast. And what role do you think geopolitical tensions and economic challenges play in, well, influencing the global innovation ecosystem? Well, for example, in China and Taiwan have problems. In the Middle East, we are seeing conflicts. The Ukraine-Russia conflict is prolonged over the last 2 or 3 years. How do you think countries can navigate these issues while still being able to foster collaboration?
See, in the face of geopolitical tensions, I think the countries can find a way forward by prioritizing innovation partnerships and strengthening regional collaboration. One great example of this is the European Union's One great example of this is European Union's Horizon Europe program, which encourages collaboration between member states and private sector players to tackle global challenges like climate change, digital transformation, and healthcare innovation. These multi-stakeholder partnerships, which bring together government, universities, and businesses, allow countries to pool resources, share risk, and create resilient innovation systems. Equally important is the need to depolitize science and technology's agendas. The International Space Station, for instance, has proven to be effective model of international cooperation in space exploration, where countries with conflicting geopolitical interests have successfully worked together on scientific research. Well, another essential strategy is innovation diplomacy. Countries can build multilateral platforms for technology sharing, like the Global Innovation Corporation Network, to facilitate cross border exchange of technology. Joint ventures such as clean energy collaboration between India and US show how these partnerships can help mitigate risks in R&D and ensure that the benefits of innovation are shared across borders. Emphasizing shared goals like climate resilience or social equity can also help corporations, as demonstrated by the Paris Agreement, where countries with different political interests came together to address pressing environmental challenges. By embracing these collaboration approaches, I think the nations can navigate complex geopolitical and economic landscapes.
Well, there's a lot to take away from that and in general, but when you were writing this article and doing your research, what surprised you the most?
See, what stood out to me during my research was the remarkable resilience and progress of middle income economies like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Morocco. Despite the global uncertainties, these countries have managed to improve their innovation ranking through targeted strategies. It's clear that focused policies and investments in areas like technology and sustainable development can truly drive transformative change. I was also struck by the impact of social enterprises like Ecofem and V Robotics. These organizations are not only addressing local challenges but also creating scalable solutions that are reshaping global innovation.
Well, I'd just like to ask you one final thing. I mean, you've covered everything in great detail. Just for our listeners at home, what do you think, or rather, where do you think innovation will have the most transformative impact on our society in the next few years?
In the coming years, innovation is set to have a profound impact on society, particularly in the areas like climate action, healthcare, and education. Technologies such as AI, renewable energy, and decentralized solutions will be crucial in tackling climate change, improving healthcare access, and enhancing educational equity. Social entrepreneurship, digital inclusion, and climate resilience innovations will play a key role in addressing systematic inequities and promoting sustainable practices. In underserved regions, these innovations will foster inclusivity, provide access to essential services, and help achieve global sustainability goals, ultimately driving meaningful change for all.
Well, I mean, that concludes our conversation for today. Well, thank you once again, Shivani, for joining me today. This has been a very productive and insightful conversation. I'm sure our listeners have a lot to take away from this. But if you are at home and interested in listening more or looking into this domain more, Shivani has a weekly column called the IP Wave, which comes out on Wednesdays. You can sign up to that. She also writes for other publications, and you can follow her work at the Law and Critical Emerging Technology Center at the Advanced Study Institute of Asia. Thank you once again. Thanks to our viewers, and please like and subscribe.
Thank you, Aurko. It was a wonderful conversation.